Yes. Yes, here we go. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. It's really great to meet you virtually, even though it's virtually, let's say. Today, I'm Zeynep from Pazar, and today we are with Nati Krawtz. She is doing these days her research residency at Pazar, and she's an artist, a curator, an art historian, many things. And we were thinking maybe we can talk about her practice as being a curator at the gallery, contemporary gallery in Opole. And she's also teaching at the Academy of Art and Design in Wrocław, Poland. And she's doing now her project called How to Swim, to be part of water. So we mixed everything, and we thought that there can be discussions, little networks out of this talk. And so I'm not just talking anymore. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeynep. First of all, I would like to say big thanks to Passage for hosting me and allowing me to do this residency, and to you, Zeynep, for being my curator. And also, I would like to thank to everyone who helped me so far to conduct this I don't know, say research or maybe stay and swimming activities that I have done last days. I have met some people from Istanbul and spent wonderful time and learn about the water in here, since maybe it is important to mention that first of all, I am trying to be a swimmer. I'm not a professional swimmer. That's why I decided to make it a part of my artistic practice, because, you know, in art, everything is possible. So you don't have to be professional, you don't have to be good at something. You can just say it's art and then it works. And also, I used to love to swim and being in the water. That's why I thought it's maybe not necessary to produce some artworks. Maybe it's enough to be in the water and to focus on this simple act of swimming and be more into the process. So that's shortly how it works for me right now. You may accept this or agree with that or not, whatever. You will see how I am proceeding. So maybe I will show you some of my activities, because this meeting has many aims, and one of the aims is also to meet each other and to learn a bit about ourselves. Also, maybe to find some partners for future projects or projects that will be done in future. That's why I will start with introducing myself a bit as a curator and present the gallery I am working for, with hope for making a joint project with someone from Istanbul in future, and of course with Passage if possible. So I need a moment just to turn on everything. Okay, So today, because the project I am doing for this residency, I am doing at Pazar is called "How to Swim," and it was inspired also by my stay in Istanbul. I have been collaborating with Pazar a few years ago, and living here in Istanbul for half a year. And I really admired the way water surrounds the city and how it flows around. However, I was suffering from lack of access to the water. I didn't know exactly where to swim, and I think that it's not very. I mean, maybe it is common, but it's not very accessible for tourists. So you need to know where to go, and you need to. That's why I decided to meet with locals and ask them what are the best places and where I can actually get into the water. I will describe also a bit what happened so far, but that's the last part. So today I would like to speak a bit about my curatorial practice that I do for a contemporary art gallery in Opole, Poland. It's a quite small city. However, we still have public gallery, which is a part of national network for promoting contemporary art, and it is founded by city. That's very important, so it's easy to proceed and work and do everything, since we are looking for external funds as well, but we have this stable incomes, so we are quite safe according to financial situation. And that means also we are not into commercial art. We are not selling. Our aim is mostly to promote art and support society. That's the mission. And we have really wide range of activities. That's why I just choose one related to myself and related to water. So obvious or not, but water is also a part of the curatorial practice. And I realized that only few years ago, after releasing some water projects, which started with my interest in genius loci works or site-specific works. I was doing curatorial residencies that were focusing on site-specific art and genius loci for international artists, and I realized that they are mostly circling around water, but only after. So I will say a few words about it, but before, just to show you, this is how it looks like. You can see the building in here, and we have different activities. We are doing exhibitions, performances, tours, workshops. We are publishing as well. But also the big part is education. So we put a lot of effort to provide courses and things like that to help people educate in art, and especially to understand what are the practices, procedures, and ideas for contemporary art. And then they can be very, very different, as you know, probably. This is my team. I think almost everyone are presented here. We are 19 people working for the gallery. Right now, because of COVID, we are working mostly online. So that's a document from one of the online meetings we had so far. And we are working in a team of 4 curators, and we have also design department and educational department. So these are all people who are responsible for creating the agenda for the gallery and making it happen, because there are also technicians and administrations and counters, so everyone is important. Maybe it's worth to emphasize that exhibition is always a team product. So it's never a curator or artist itself, it's always a group of people who are usually invisible at the end. And Opole itself, it's a city south of in southern Poland, close to the border of Czech Republic. And what's important, maybe you can see, is the river that goes through the city, and it is divided or split into canals. So this is how it makes some small islands around the city. And there are many lakes around, because the city is established on a huge deposit of limestone, which is excavated since 100 years. And because of that, there are many stonewares which are transformed to the lakes after all, when they are finished. And on the left side, you can see me and my friend who's a curator as well, and other friends from Opole. We are observing the river. That's the river. It's very slow. The river is even quite boring, but also very dangerous. It flooded the city several times, and the most traumatic one happened in 1997, when I think 60% of the city was under the water, and people lost a lot of their things and houses. So we are observing the city. That was one of the performances, because on the other side there was an artist, and she was performing a kind of communication through the river, since we try to see the river as something that doesn't divide, rather it connects us somehow. Yeah, and that performance was taken for sorry. Hi, I want to. Okay, it was a part of. It has been released during one of the editions for the international artistic residency I have been conducted for 4 years during the summer. That was called Logographers, and it was referring to ancient chronicles and travelers. So artists were kind of like travelers who are coming and making the stories about the place. And because at the first edition I realized that most of the artists were working with water, I decided to make the next one directly about to dedicate it directly to water, and we did a cruise on the river, which is at some point a border between Poland and Germany. So we invited German artists and Polish artists on the boat, and for 1 week we were sailing from Germany to our city. And after all, the artists were working on the river in Opole. For example, here you can see Carolina Redondo. She's a German artist. Well, Chilean artist, but based in Germany, and she did this raft that connected to banks, river banks. People could join her and had this tour. And the project itself at that time called The Other Flow of Ideas, because I think that residences are also important for exchange. Not only the final product is important, but I think the most precious thing is to exchange with people and to make this kind of flow of ideas. So that was the point. Yeah, and that was my first cruise on the Otter with artists, me as a curator, and together with 6 other artists. But I fell in love with that, and the river is crossing some cities on the way, but because of the threat of flood, most of the settlements are away from it, and while sailing the river, one can have feeling like being in total wilderness, and that was very beautiful and inspiring. And I've encouraged my friends to do a artistic project for sailing the river. But that time we were sailing towards Wrocław, which was the capital for culture in 2016. And because we live in a very small city and we are always like at the margin, in peripheria, we said, well, we should be in the center, in the cultural capital, and let's just sail there with the current of the river. So for half a year we were preparing this cruise. we tried to build the muscles, and yeah, generally it was quite pathetic. It looked really pathetic. I mean, 6 artists doing muscles, and anyway, we've managed. We arrived to Wrocław. We were very successful, and what we brought, because we wanted to share something, and we had the gift for people in Wrocław, that was a cement which is produced in Opole out of this limestone, and it is called the white gold of Opole region. So we brought the cement and we did the workshops together. We were creating some forms with people. So you can see us celebrating here, and actually we were able even to walk on the water. It was so successful. Yes, and so both of those projects were released at the gallery. So the gallery was a kind of patron for these events, and they were related to, of course, the landscape situation around the city. So we have this river that connects us with other cities, with other countries as well. But also we have those lakes that are these are artificial lakes created in stonewares, where they were excavating the limestone. And in here you can see some photos documenting the project. We have made together with my friend Gaia, who's with us, I guess, today. Hope she's listening. Maybe she can add something. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so would you like to add something, or maybe I will introduce the project. Because of pandemia time and because of the lockdown, it was impossible to meet at the gallery and to gather people in larger amount. So we decided to get out of the walls, to be more in this thinking outside the box modus. And we use one of my favorite places in Opole, which is Bolko Stoneware. That's the place where I usually swim. I try to do that I try to do it as often as possible. So we invited people to meet there and to be in the water, to get the contact with water, to swim, but also to learn about the water. And Gaia, who's I don't know if I will say it properly, she's somatonaut. Am I right?
Yes.
Can you say more, a few words about this practice or idea of being somatonaut?
Somatonaut is a game of words, so it's coming from being an astronaut, but it's connected with traveling within the own body. So it's like from soma, from the word meaning body. So it is used in some context by some people, but I think anyone can identify him or herself with this idea. And for us in Natalia's project, we dwelt the body of water somehow. Yeah. Okay, bye.
Yeah, and the aim was also to do whatever people do at the beach. So usually they're sunbathing and swimming, talking, and reading books. So our lectures were, first of all, we were into Lynn Cox book. Lynn Cox is our hero. She's swimming in cold water. She's I don't know, they call it Ice Queen or something like that. And she was the one who swam across Bering Strait by the end of 80s in order to prove that borders are just an ideas and human inventions. So she was swimming during the period of Cold War. She swam from United States to Russian Federation, from one island to the other, to prove it is possible and one person can go through it just in 1 hour, so that the countries and lands are not that far from each other, and that water is actually something that connects people. And she has a brilliant achievements. I think that's a very, very beautiful book that I recommend to everyone. But also we were reading texts related to hydrofeminism, and namely the crucial text from Astrida Neymanis, where she gives a lot of thoughts about the water. And one that I like the most is that we have all arisen from the same primordial soup, and that we are actually all coming from the water, and we are water related. And because usually we think we have more this terrestrial perspective, and people think they are connected to the land, they are bound to the land because of gravity and so on. But once you get into the water, there are another forces working on, like, for example, buoyancy power that is against gravity, and somehow you can get this feeling of floating, which I love the most. But also she's explaining that if we slightly change the perspective, we may see us as a species, as a water species, more than terrestrial one. That actually water is connecting everything, that our bodies are containing the water. They are made of 80% of water, what makes us even more similar to jellyfish than any other creature. I mean, it's like we are not that far from the water creatures. And she also refers to this idea of liquidity, how nothing is stable, and she's arguing that we can perceive world in more liquid and fluent perspective. Even our own bodies are not waterproof. So we are containing the water, we are transporting the water. the water coming through us and going to the other side somewhere else. And also a beautiful book that I highly recommend by Elaine Morgan, which is called The Descent of Woman, where she argues that according to Sir Alistair Hardy's theory, that there must have been some water periods in our ancestors' life, so that there was a water ape that we are coming from directly. And at the end, we did some small show connecting all the ideas we figure out or we came across during this meetings near the water. For example, you see, because Elaine Morgan is writing a lot about evolutionary issues and how much how much similar we are to water creatures or water mammals, that we are even more similar than to any other mammals on the land, for example, the hens and things like that. Yes, and so that was possible, those meetings and talks, because we have this beautiful lake in Opole. And this lake is not, it is also something that happened to the city, that happened to, because of human activity, of course, because they were excavating since the beginning of 20th century. They are excavating the limestone, and there is one of the biggest cement factories in Europe located in Opole region as well. And there are lots of stonewares around which are flooded once they are used completely. I mean, this is how it goes from devastation and destroying the land to recultivation again. And in here you can see the stoneware as it was by the beginning of 20th century, and by the end of 20th century, that's the map. I don't know where it is visible, but you can see the lake, and right here the river is coming, the Oder. And because of this huge flood, the water came into this stone pit and filled it with water. That caused the damages for the factory, which bankrupted at the end, but at least we have right now we have a beautiful lake in there, and this is how this water and beach culture is growing right now in the city, since it is available for everyone. It's a public beach, so anyone can go there and spend time. It's also very nice, how to say, designed, and it is guarded, so it's safe for children as well. Yeah, and I just started to practice because to swim in there, since I used to love swimming, and I learned swimming when I was about 6, and I clearly remember that moment as something magical. The magic happened. I was playing on in the water, and because I couldn't swim, was jumping and diving, and suddenly I realized I cannot reach the bottom, that I have to make some effort to do that, that the water is pushing me out, that there is this buoyancy power, and that was a wonderful feeling. And that's something you get once and you cannot stop, you cannot resist anymore. But you know, it's not always possible, since we are busy and there isn't enough water around. And because this lake happened at the beginning of new millennia, I was able to return to swimming and do my practice. And here you can see that that's the plan for the lake, and these are my usual swimming paths. And it happened because it was 2 or 3 years ago, it was extremely hot in Poland. I couldn't stand the heat, so I had to go there everywhere in order to cool myself down. And I spent half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours in the water, and I couldn't stop swimming. So the summer passed away, and I was still in the water. I was still continuing being in the water. I couldn't stop it. It was kind of addiction, but also a curation. That's why we call this meeting curation or curating the water, because it's a play of words relating to curatorial practice, but also to curation and the way water can cure ourselves. And that was truly a curation for me. So I was just swimming and being in the water and thinking and experiencing, because once the summer was over, the water started to be colder and colder, and it changed the perspective totally. Because at the beginning I was cooling myself down, and at the end I was exposing myself into extreme conditions, like 5 or 3 degree temperature of the water, where I tried to survive for several minutes, or my records were 15 minutes in the water close to 1 degree. But that was extreme, and you can see how the water affects your body, because after all you are shivering for half an hour. You can't speak, you can't move, and you're waiting for your body to recover oneself. And at the end I go to hot water to help myself return to proper temperature. So water is cooling, water is heating, water has a lot of skills and possibilities. And that's something I started 2 years ago. But last year, because of lockdown, many people, this ice swimming or being in ice water, I think it's a part of, I would call it a Slavic tradition, that people are going into the water in the winter in order to have this extreme experience, but it's also healthy. I think it works with the drains and the body blood pressure as well. So right here you can see people are doing it regularly. They are in ice cold water. Usually they stay there for 3 minutes or 5 minutes, up to, I don't know, 10 minutes perhaps, depends on the temperature, because it's really a difference once the water is 2 degrees and once it is 5 degrees or 7. So that makes the difference. But they simply stay in the water with gloves and hats and just waiting. And myself, I try to swim. It looks also quite pathetic when I am doing it in this cold water, because there is a lot of pain. I have a lot of pain in my hands, especially. They are literally freezing. You can see me here. That's after a swimming session. So right after this, just this moment when I come out of the water, I feel really okay. I don't feel anything. But after some while, I start to shiver, and it looks very traumatic. People are really scared about it, and they think I am dying, but it's totally fine. Anyway, this activity or sport, I don't know how to call it, is right now extremely popular in Poland. Everyone is doing, and because we have this Bolko lake in Opole, every Sunday there are, I don't know, 50 people, 100 people who are taking the ice bathing, and we call them the walrus. The walrus, because you know, walrus, they have a lot of fat around, and most of people who are practicing this ice swimming are quite fat as well, because it's necessary. Yeah, but I think in summary, all this story about cooling oneself down and heating up with water is also about how the water circulates around the world. And when I was so compulsively swimming in this extremely hot summertime, I was thinking also a lot about Arctic regions, and at some point I came across of this image of Greenland, and simply I started to draw it and draw it. I've made hundreds of drawings presenting the map of Greenland, and then I started to sew a blanket that took me 1 year to make it, because I am very bad in sewing. Maybe that's the point. I cannot explain it. That was just an impulse to do it, because here in Poland we are drying out. We will soon suffer from the lack of water. Poland is a country. Poland is a country that is poor in water, and we are drying out. And it's so hot. And then you think that one of the biggest sweet water container exists in the north, and it has a shape of Greenland, because that's actually one of the biggest sweet water source for the earth, Greenland, and then Antarctica on southern pole. So they are very important. And the waters from here, like the one that came from the river and filled up the stoneware, it goes to the Baltic Sea and then goes further, probably something rich Arctic Sea as well. So we are very, very connected by the water, and we are constantly exchanging liquids, and perhaps it's important, or at least interesting, to see world and reality more in this liquid perspective, that there is nothing stable, everything is on movement, everything is fluent. Yeah, and this is just a comparison, because I've mentioned Astrid Anemones and Lynn Cox and Elaine Morgan, so our ancestor, the water ape, but also mermaids, which were mammals actually, and even Elaine Morgan, she was arguing that they are also coming from the water ape. They evaluated from the water ape. So I am heading to make this point that water and water qualities are actually can be perceived also as a feminine qualities, since women are described more in this wet liquid terminology, in contrast to more stable, dry ideas of phallogocentric perspective, let's say. Yeah, and just to sum up, at the end, I started to think also how the water flows and what it means, because since I am also an art historian, I like to research iconography as well, and it's usually presented, I mean, fountains and fonts as masculine symbol, kind of ejaculation symbol. For example, this famous work by Marcel Duchamp, which is fountain, repeated by many artists. For example, Bruce Nauman, let's say, but many artists were referring to that piece. But it's very about masculinity, I think, and the fountain itself with the splash, it's also very symbolic. But then I realized that can be also perceived as a feminine symbol, since women have this liquidity, and we get birth from, at the beginning we are in how does it called, pregnancy waters, and we are coming from the water, and women provide liquid food for their children by the breasts. So this is also part of the fountain, and perhaps it's not visible, but then I found, for example, in Christian iconography, the symbol of fountain is related also to women. The Holy Virgin Mary is presented as a fountain as well. And I found this, it's a drawing after one of the anonymous artist, painter, who made the fresco in one of Opole's church, where you can see Jesus Christ, I don't know how does it called, sharing his liquids with Holy Virgin Mary, and this is how they supply the fountain of life. So he's coming with the blood from his breast, and she's coming with the milk from her breast as well. Yeah, and there are so many myths about how the Milky Way started from the breasts of Venus and so on. And at the end, before coming to Istanbul, I went to the spring, which is located in Poland, and it gives starts to 3 rivers, and one of them ends in Black Sea. And I just did this symbolic fountain. I simply split it with my saliva to the water, and only after I was informed that there is a lot of saliva in Marmara Sea. So I hope it's not my fault. Then I started to think maybe it is quite symbolic. Yeah, but just to finish, I would like to present videos I have made for while being here, since I have a very intense time, and I've collected a lot of material. I was traveling around the city with people and tried to swim wherever it was possible. However, it takes a lot of time to go through the city. Yesterday, I have been with Elif to Bosporus. That was my first swim in Bosporus water. Very great feeling. However, we spent at least 2 hours in a car in order to get there. So it takes time to reach the point in Istanbul. anyway, I try to record something and share it on my Instagram, but I also try to make some more, what to say, poetic videos about what I've met here. So I will just try to share them. I have been to Burgazada. Okay. So I have been to Burgazada, to Marmara Sea, and there is this problem with sea saliva, and it's something that, as I have been told, is happening since winter in Marmara Sea, but right now people around here try to deal with it, and I have been reading that they removed a lot of this mucilage. However, huge parts of it are already at the bottom and destroyed the benthos of Marmara Sea, which is in the process of dying right now. Yes, so this is how it looks like. Is it toxic? I'm toxic. Is it toxic? I'm toxic. So it was a story about Io that was a lover for Zeus, a divine lover, and she was changed into a cow, and only the swim in Bosphorus helped her to return to her human form, and that's why Bosphorus is called. It's from Greek. Cattle passage, because probably cattle were passing through, but also maybe because of this myth about Io, who was thrown as a cow into the water and get out as a human. Yeah, and just one small impression. That's also at Marmara Sea. That's a beach at Marmara Sea. But I must say that one can really feel the saliva while being in the water, and you can feel how it sticks to your skin and makes some cover. But when you go to, if you go to Bosporus, the water is just perfect, and I highly recommend to swim in Bosporus water because it has beautiful turquoise color and just perfect temperature right now, which is cooling but not ice cold, very refreshing. And there is also a very beautiful place to swim with a perfect water in Floria as well. So if you want to start your swimming season right now, these are places I highly recommend, and I am still hoping that the saliva will bring something positive as well. Since I read that one of those cyanobacteria were at the beginning of the world responsible for great oxygenation event. That means they killed, because of their appearance, they killed bacteria that were living without air, but allowed another life to happen. So I hope this circle of life will continue anyway, and that the waters of Marmara Sea will get restored and will recover, and we'll be able to swim in there joyfully. Thank you so much for your attention. And right now it's a time for making questions or to start a discussion. Perhaps you would like to share, because I didn't say about everything about my practice. These were just very kind of impressions, I mean, these videos, but I also spent time with people and tried to talk with them about their experience with water in Istanbul and their experience of swimming. And I must say, I am surprised that people have so different approach to water, because I heard different voices, like some people are afraid of water because they don't want to lose the connection with ground. And I heard stories about relearning swimming and forgetting swimming. And I think it's quite metaphoric, because after all, we all come from water. We start our life in the water, in the bellies of our mothers, and it's something, I mean, swimming is something very natural for us, but it's something also that we forget while trying to get the connection to the ground and work with the gravity. So we have to learn it once again once we are children, or relearn it during our lives.
Yes, so thank you, Natalia, for sharing all these experiences, information, book recommendations, and everything. The project that Natalia does in Istanbul is called How to Swim, and it can be also nice to hear, I think, how you started to swim. I mean, the participants started to swim, because we can do the discussion like this. I think we will also feel more relaxed to share about that. And we were also talking before her arrival that we met in Istanbul some people who never been across the water. For all their, like, they were not going just next to the water, next to the Bosphorus, even though the city is covered by the sea. So it is really strange how you feel connected or disconnected from the sea. Yeah. So if anyone would like to talk about their experiences of learning swimming.
Zeynep, if I may say something, what you said, first of all, thank you for the presentation, Natalie. It was great to hear your practice, both in Poland and Istanbul, and Pazar for hosting the event. Zeynep, you remember there was an artwork, but I mean, right now I can't remember the artist, but it was about like millions of women and men who have come to Istanbul to live and work and who haven't seen the water in their lives. And they were taking them to the seaside just to realize this meeting with water and even just for seeing it, not even swimming, but the first contact.
Yes, was it migrants?
No. Turkish, I mean, migrants who come from different parts of Turkey to Istanbul to work throughout the years. It was an internal migration. And they were mostly women who were working in the city. They're not stuck in their homes, going to the factories and other workplaces, but haven't been in contact with the water throughout their whole lives. So it was one striking example, I thought, when you were talking.
Yes, I think that Seçil mentioned this project. She was speaking about it.
Seçil is the other passage. Maybe she can.
she would remember. Maybe I can, but not right now, because it's quite some time ago. Anyway, that is one example. Me personally, I grew up nearby the sea. My primary school memories is going to swim after the classes. So I'm kind of a water person. So I really feel what you feel, Natalie, with the water, but never done in winter and ice swimming. So it takes some courage. Congratulations on that experience too.
Yeah, I think Polish people are crazy right now about ice swimming, and it's also because of pandemia. They got so stressed that I think they try to prove themselves they are real survivals, and then they are challenging themselves. But I can understand also that Istanbul is a huge city, and of course we have this romantic idea about the city on the water with ferries, but it's much larger than the Bosphorus Strait, and it's hard even to get to the water banks for some people, probably because it takes quite a lot of time. So yeah, and also there aren't any easy accesses to Bosporus, because since there is a lot of traffic, and maybe that's also a bit dangerous. But I think it would be nice to have at least few, let's say, organized zones around Bosporus where people can easily get into the water in quite safe situation and conditions. Yeah. Also, I think that swimming is something we were talking with Elif yesterday, because it happens that mostly men are swimming, or men are swimming more than women, even though physically women have better physical conditions to do that, especially in cold water. But I think it's more cultural, that men are encouraged to do that. They are taught to meet adventures, and women are taught to behave all the time. And once you are in public space and you had to take off your clothes and do something totally strange because nobody is doing it, it's hard. And it's also about I think this idea of body positivity. Many women are shy of their bodies, and being in the swimming suit is too much for them. They don't want to expose. Even my friends, they say they never go swim public because they are ashamed of their bodies, which are, I mean, they have beautiful bodies, but they are ashamed, and it's stressful for them. So there, I think there's also something we should work over. This idea of how we treat our bodies and how we deal with our bodies, that we are not shy, we feel fine with being naked, for example.
Yes, it would be great if we could bring this mood, these vibes of hammam to to the seaside.
Yes, exactly. That was something. That was one of my most intense experience in Turkey, since I am coming from Poland, which is also very religious country, and Polish people are very prudish and not used to their bodies. And when I went to hammam, I mean, because you can see even traditionally women are wearing skirts, or they try to hide their bodies, but in hammam there are no mysteries. There are no mysteries about your body. It's extreme, really. I have never experienced such a situation, and I have never been touched publicly like that. Yes, that was something. and one can see a huge contrast between what you see outside and what you have inside in hammam. Yeah.
But don't you have banyas in Poland? No.
No, we right now there is a sauna movement, but it's quite new. I think it's since 10 years, like that. And yes, you have to be naked in sauna, and they even force you. It's really people get. There's, I don't know how to say. If you would go in swimming suit, they would eat you. I think there's too much pressure again towards being naked. I think it's sometimes even obsessive, but yeah. Yeah, but we have this sauna movement right now and spa movement, so people try to adjust to being naked. But many people in Poland don't use it just because of that, because they don't want to be naked. They are ashamed of being naked in public.
For me, this hydrofeminism is something very new. So it's I am just started to read, but this idea of exchanging water, and also to talk about evolution, and with this practice of exchanging water, and to get out of this individualism and being in your body, still preserving your body. The opposite of all of things, just answered to many of my questions about being in the body itself. It's really interesting, exchanging the waters.
Yeah, I think I also recommend to read this Astrida Neimani's text. It's because it's quite simple. However, this is something, once you read it, you can't forget it. Or somehow it is like this, but as she speaks it loudly, it really reach your brain and change your mindset. And she's insisting to catch this aqueous, aquatic perspective, because once you realize how that your body consists of water, and that this water is constantly moving around your body and coming out and coming in and coming out, and that you're in constant exchange with environment and everything, then you are not able to see yourself as a stable, finished, limited, bordered object anymore. You feel much more connected. You really see the connection. So that's why it is so crucial. But it's also in this huge current of ecofeminism that tries to encourage people to change the perspective from a very, let's say, patriarchal, masculinistic perspective towards liquid, fluent, changing, unstable, irrational, like women are accused to be irrational. It's these are all qualities that are that were unacceptable in masculine word, because masculine word consists of specific or is based on specific models of being stable, related to technology, rational, logical, and women is everything else: irrational, changeable, related to nature instead of technology or culture. Yeah, but the point is not to maybe divide or accuse each other, but to see that there is a diversity, and with different perspective, we will see different things in the world simply, and manage the world differently.
Yes. As in the introduction of becoming a body of water, there was this sentence where she was saying, yes, the human bodies are at least 2/3 water, okay, but there's this part, like, but more interesting than this ontological mass is what this water does, where it comes from, where it goes, and what it means along the way. Yeah. Yes, it was kind of enlightening.
But I also, but I do think that the practice and embodied experience is important. So you read it, but then while you are in the water, if people in Istanbul will go to the Bosphorus water every day, they will be more connected. They will totally, it will also affect the mindset. What you do, what is your activity. I don't mean that they should do that immediately, but to practice, to be in the water, this is what I am also doing, what is important for me, just to be in the water. That's all. That's very simple gesture and very simple practice, but helps you to be closer, to think and to understand, maybe.
So Natalia, if I can ask you about something connected with water, So it's very important thing to me that you said before a moment. So just being in the water, because so I'm not very good swimmer, but I like it very much. And for me, it's just a big pleasure to be in the water, just lay on the water. And I understand. And thanks God that we have the water, because we have to sometimes reset our brain. So, and thanks God we can be irrational. Yeah. So this is it. But for me, it's being in water is also to experiences with other world, because water is other world. We can do there some things we can't do, you know, in the air. So I can't lay on the water. I can't lay in the air, and there's no problem with wage. So in the water, I don't have wage, I can say. But also water change sounds. So I can see in with your videos specific music. And this music is changed than normal music. So so I mean, if we do moves, so in the air and the water, the same moves are slower, and your music shows that. How you experience the sounds in the water, or and if it's important for you, because for me it's very important, and I am very glad if I can do sounds which I can't do in normal life.
Thank you, Ivona, for noticing the sound. Of course, you are also responsible for encouraging me to sing. Yes, it has. Thank you for saying this. I was really aiming to get this waterly aqueous, aquatic quality of a sound, which has a lot of echo, and you cannot understand the words completely, because in the water our senses are deprived, so we don't hear that good, we don't see that good, but the sense of touch is stimulated more, I think, because we really feel all over our body the touch of the water. We can sense it, and it's total. And I totally understand what you mean about lying in the water and losing the weight, feeling like a butterfly floating. That's my favorite feeling, actually. And what I like about doing a water sport, I usually say that you are, because while swimming you're actually doing a cardio exercises, but it's like I always say it's a horizontal jogging, or it's nice to train something once lying and being in a horizontal position. Maybe that's why I like swimming that much.
And the shapes that you showed us with the little like post-its, it was your trajectories in the sea, right?
The small drawings.
Mm-hmm.
Did
you make them like, did you plan to do these trajectories, or is it like naturally, organically happened?
I don't control it that much. Usually I have my standard paths on the water in the lake, because I know the lake. I already learned, I have the map in my mind, and I know there is a water lily, there is bulldozer drowned in here, and there are the bushes. So it's all under the water, but when I swim, I see it and I know where I am. I can navigate myself in the water. And I have this map in my mind already of the bottom of that lake I swim in. So I usually think about some trajectories, but I don't know exactly how will it look like at the end. So the drawings are quite accidental. But I tried. I did record them with. Yes, I can show you. I did record them with an app, which is cancelled right now, but perhaps I should install a new one. That one was called Endomondo. So you can see why. That's my usual route. It's 1 kilometer. From one side to the other and return, but it also depends on the season. So the smaller are from December till February, and this is August. This is about 2 kilometers. Yeah, and this is 1 kilometer, 700 meters. That's about 800 meters, and this is 400 meters. That was in December last year. I did.
Fish.
Yes, I didn't realize that. I saw it only after. Yeah. So this is about 2 kilometers and 2.5. Yeah, it's like that. That one.
The second animal.
Yeah. Yeah,
From the sea.
I also have this association with this. I don't know how is it called, electric.
Yeah, in English. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Something. And after all, I thought these are great drawings, kind of water trace. Since right now we speak a lot about water traces and carbon traces, and that's something that, and even in art, people are a bit against the overproduction. So maybe it's good to do something that doesn't last forever. Yet still you can see the shape and you get the pleasure, visual, you can get visual pleasure.
Without intervention, you mean?
Yeah, without changing anything. Yeah, that was New Year, my New Year swim. But it was
celebration time.
It was very cloudy. I mean, it's very small because there was a lot of humidity and fog. Actually, I was afraid to get lost in the water since there wasn't a good visibility in there. Yeah, so it is.
Yes. Is there anyone who would like to add something? Mirai, sorry, you were just saying.
No. I just want to say thank you for beautiful presentation and beautiful work about water, Natalie, and also Passage. Thanks for the hosting. And I would like to just say that right now I have a good vibe about water and behind of the history of water. And thanks for the beautiful Sunday meeting as well. Yeah. Maybe see you next time again.
Thank you, Mirai. Hope to see you soon. Yeah, I mean, I think I already took too much time, but of course I am available online, and if somebody wants to share the experience or something, please text me, write an email, find me on Facebook or Instagram, whatever is convenient for you, and we can continue the conversation. I will be very, very grateful, and I will be very happy also to swim with you whenever you have time, each of you, and whenever you would like to invite me. I will try to do that and come and spend the time in the water together. So thank you once again. Thank you, Zeynep. Thank you, Passage. And thank you all participants. Thanks for your attention, and wish you a nice water.
Good night. Good evening, night. Good night. This part will be edited. And with Natalia, we are also doing a little sound clip for Açık Radio. Hope we will finish it, and when it will be published, we can also send it to you if you would like to listen to the podcast later. Yeah. Thank you very much for being here today. Hope to see you in person as well.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, and bye-bye.
Thank you.